Nice collared shirt, Daryl.
This office isn't as nice as my first office this morning.
Okay. I'd like to call a regular meeting of council to order Monday, April 20th, 2026. Approval of the agenda, please. Councillor Noxana. Did I turn you off? There we go. No?
That the April 20th, 2026 regular council meeting agenda be adopted as presented.
Seconder, Councillor Norbury. All in favor? Approved. Thank you. Adoption of the minutes, April 7th, 2026, regular council meeting minutes. Recommendation, please. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Chair. That the April 7th regular council meeting minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder, Councillor Noxana. All in favor? Approved. Thank you. Any business arising from the minutes, council?
I do.
Mayor Korkalka.
Page 8, 7.3 on the agenda where we talked about, there was a letter from correspondence from the city of Dawson Creek in regards to the NCLJ resolution. So after some confusion, when I was told that no, we could not be a co-sponsor because it's past the date, that has now changed. I believe we should look for guidance, but if we put a motion on the floor, NCLJ is awaiting a letter from us to co-sponsor Dawson Creek's resolution.
Okay. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Chair. I would think that a motion would be sufficient. Are we able to make motions at this point in time, Chair?
I believe so.
Okay. I will motion that we send a letter of support to co-sponsor the council resolution and supplementary memo listed under 7.3 in the April 7th regular council meeting minutes.
Seconder, Councillor Noxana. Discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. I did pick up another small error here on page 6 of the Tuesday, April 7th minutes. Councillor Dussault is listed as present. I don't think that was correct. Any other business arising from the minutes? Okay, moving on. Consent agenda recommendation, please. Councillor Noxana.
That the items in the April 20th, 2026 consent agenda be moved for information.
Seconder. Councillor Hoffman, sorry. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Any items council would like to bring forward for discussion? Sorry, Councillor Noxana.
Thank you. 7.6, the Tumbler Ridge Museum Foundation.
Seconder, Councillor Hoffman. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Noxana.
Thank you. The Museum Foundation has asked if we would support their application to NDIT for some work with their large fossils that they're storing. So I would like to propose that the District of Tumbler Ridge supports the application to Northern Development Initiative Trust from the Tumbler Ridge Museum for the development of the outdoor exhibition space for giant fossils.
Seconder, Councillor Norbury. Discussion? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Any other items on the consent agenda council would like to bring up or to discuss? Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Chair. I move 7.2 brought up for discussion.
Seconder, Councillor Noxana. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Chair. So we have a letter here written from the City of Dawson Creek asking for support in the temporary foreign worker program. I recognize that this is something that is definitely needed in some areas, especially in the northern areas of British Columbia. So I'd like to motion that we send a letter of support to Minister Callon and Premier Eby. Thanks.
Seconder, Counselor Noxana, discussion?
Sorry, can you tell me what number that was? Sorry, I don't have that in my agenda.
It's 7.2, City of Dawson Creek.
Okay, sorry, I thought he said 7.3, sorry, okay?
Yep, no problem. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Any other items council would like to bring up for discussion?
Acting Mayor, if I could, please.
Yep, go ahead, Mayor.
7.4 for discussion.
Seconder, Counselor Noxana. All in favor? Carried. Go ahead, Mayor.
So I had staff put this in that agenda, so this is in case anybody wants to go to Fort St. John for the mental health conference. This is the time, I will be away, but this is the time to get it out in front if there's somebody that's interested so that we can have staff look at travel and hotel accommodations and get that before council,
Okay.
just in case anybody wants to attend.
Are there any councilors wanting to attend this? Okay, the offer is there if you are interested still. I would think please reach out to Ms. Scott.
Okay, and then 7.5 for discussion, if I may.
Sure thing, seconder. Counselor Noxana, all in favor? Carried. Go ahead, Mayor.
Yeah, I put a motion on the floor that we ask staff to send a letter asking for a meeting while we're at the NCLJ with Northern Health.
Seconder, Counselor Noxana. Discussion? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Any other items council would like to bring forward for discussion? Counselor Norbury.
Thank you, Chair. 7.7, Tumbler Ridge residents for discussion, please.
Seconder, Counselor Hoffman. All in favor? Carried. Counselor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor. So thank you, staff, for putting all of these together under one item. I think they all correspond to the same discussion that we had last week regarding the proposed rate increases to our facilities and our golf course. Ultimately, I think it's generally agreed upon that people recognize the need for increasing costs as the cost to provide these services are going up. Also, beside that is the mutual opinion that we may be going too hard too fast. I think it's important for us to recognize that when looking at numbers on a page, looking at spreadsheets, looking at comparisons, it's easy to just recognize, oh, that makes sense, because Dawson Creek charges this much, and we don't charge that much. So it's comparable. But when you realize that on the other end of that spreadsheet, there are people being asked to pay those fees, they're being asked to, during times of economic hardship with the rising costs of everything put down on the consumer, that are we looking to raise more funds to help our community, and will this pan out? For me, hearing the comments from these residents, other residents reach out to me personally, I have a hard time with the next agenda item, which we'll talk about then, as reflected in these letters. They agree they should go up. Too far, too fast, I think, is the general consensus here. And
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or discussion? Mayor Kurkalka.
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. I'll be honest, I appreciate the letters and the correspondence from residents in regards to, the concerns and maybe some increases coming in regards to the fees and charges, whether that's at the community center or at the golf course. Appreciate the emails. It's nice when people connect that way. I've had lots of conversation as well on the street and personally on my phone. I'll be honest, the side that leans to it is people aren't so concerned, the ones I've talked to, and I mean, obviously they didn't write emails. I did mention them to write emails. But if they don't, there's nothing I can do. But the ones I talked to were The biggest thing is they want to make sure that, the GL lines that we've been talking about for years is actually going to be used. Whether that's in regards to trail fees increase, but also the golf cart rentals. That, we're actually, we've been talking about having these line items or GL numbers so that we can raise some reserve in there so that when it is time to replace golf carts, the money's been recouped from the rental, not from reserves because of surplus and taxes. It's the same thing as what I heard from the trail fees. If we're gonna collect trail fees, then there should be a percentage of that that is immediately put into a trail fee or trail repair line, GL line, for doing actual repairs within the trail system on the golf course, which makes sense. It's been talked about over and over about doing it, it's just never been done. To me, when we have a reserve that's for repairing or redoing some of the trail networks at the golf course, and when staff come forward with ideas of whether they're gonna do hole 3 or 5 or 2 holes in 1 year, there's actually funds within that GL. It's not a taxation. They're pulling it out from trail fees that have been paid for by the golfers. So I thought that was very interesting to hear, and I heard that a lot from avid golfers. I'm not an avid golfer, but these were avid golfers. Some were the ones that socialize on the seniors' night. I've talked to some young parents in regards to some of the fees of the community center, so some of the swimming lessons. And then when I pulled my sheet out and showed them how we haven't seen an increase across the board for so many years, that when this got in front of council, I think what happened is, we haven't had a raise since 2007. It's like, oh, we got to get back up into the standards here. And then when you explain some of the stuff, like We Love Kids Day going from $5 to $10, that includes a lunch, 3 to 4 activities, which is swimming, possibly a movie, ice skating. When you explain it that way and they look at, what it costs if they were to use a babysitter within the house, there's a different comment there from some of the community. So I think it's a tough one when we, I talked to a few, Councilor Norbury's talked to a few, we have a few letters here from a few residents. We're actually here to do decisions for the community as a whole and not just a few. So I just ask council to think of that as we move on through the agenda and start debating of what we'd like to see going forward when it comes to fees and charges. But I've had both spectrums, more on the side of the GL, and I would hope once we get to that area that staff maybe has an idea on how we can capture that in that GL line is what I'd be looking for when that comes to golf cart rentals as well as trail fees.
Thank you, Mayor. Any other comments, discussion? Councilor Norbury?
Thank you, Chair. My only question is regarding in response to these letters. Are we sending out an automatic response informing them of the decision tonight, or do we need to make a motion to that effect?
Good question. Ms. Scott?
We aren't sending automatic responses of the decision tonight, no.
So if we want that, it would be by motion.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilor Norbury?
Thank you, Chair. I'll motion that we send a letter thanking the residents for their letters and send a response informing them of tonight's fees and charges bylaw decision. Thank you.
Seconder? Councilor Noxana, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Mayor Kurkalka and Councilor Julich are opposed. Motion carries. Thank you. Just a little, I'd like to comment on these letters as well. I do appreciate everybody writing in. It's certainly nice to see engagement. I did see some inconsistencies in some of the responses, though. I know our first agenda, we did have an unfair comparison with some of the bigger golf courses, not publicly funded, privately funded, as well as 18 holes. And we asked staff for a more reasonable comparison, which they came back with, including some courses in Alberta. So the argument of comparing to unfair comparables, I don't believe is correct. There is another argument to this as well, is the rest of the residents that don't golf. I don't believe it's fair for them to be subsidizing something that they don't take any part in. The golf course has made money last year, and I believe just broke even the year before. But before that, the rest of the residents have been subsidizing the golf course for a minority of people to come out and enjoy it. So there is that argument as well, and I think a lot of these increases are necessary. The history of our prices, we haven't touched them for many, many years. And by doing this, we're not only bringing us back up to par of where we should be, what we should be charging, but we're also planning for the future of asset management within the golf course. I don't believe these changes myself, I don't believe are motivated by increasing revenue. I think it's a motivation to make sure that the golf course is profitable in order to be able to reinvest into it. So that's my take on it. I do appreciate the letters. I do understand people's concerns. There are some drastic changes there on a few items, but again, I think the drastic changes myself are a result of lack of changes over the last 15 years. So that's my take on it. Any other comments? Okay, moving on to bylaws. Fees and charges bylaw amendment, bylaw number 760, 2026 for adoption. Report dated April 20th, 2026. From the Director of Operations and Infrastructure regarding fees and charges bylaw amendment, bylaw number 760 for adoption. Recommendation, please. Councillor Noxana.
The council gives the first reading of the fees and charges amendment bylaw number 760, 2026.
Seconder. Councillor Hoffman. Discussion. All in favor?
Oh, sorry, I was trying to find my mic. I can wait. I'll wait till the next one.
Pardon me? Yeah, okay. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Noxana and Councillor Norbury are opposed. Motion carries. Second recommendation, please. Councillor Noxana.
The council gives the second reading of the fees and charges amendment bylaw number 760, 2026.
Seconder. Councillor Hoffman, discussion. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to save some of my comments for this discussion. In addition to my comments previously, I can't support this fees and charges change. We were talking earlier about the need to raise costs. I don't think that's in debate here. I think everyone recognizes that. I can appreciate that. I've had people tell me, stay the course, it's reasonable. Yes, it's reasonable if you just look at then versus now. But I think, in my opinion, we made the mistake of not adding in gradual increases. Why are we asking the residents to have to make up for the fact that we missed this or something we never needed? We talk about subsidy of sport or organizations or what have you. And, the district is not a for-profit business. We're something different entirely. We don't get cost recovery on the pool. We don't get cost recovery on the rink. And, we don't get cost recovery on other organizations like our museum, our library. And I'm happy to do that because those are services provided by the community. We need to have these for a healthy community. And if we want to, my firm belief is if we want our facilities to be the gathering places for organizations, for people to come together through sport and recreation, we need to remove barriers for them to access that. So that's what I'm seeing this fees and charges being as a barrier for access. Many people can't afford these activities. Appreciate that. I'm worried about the people that we're going to get left behind, or they're going to have to make tough choices of what they can or cannot do. What can they not afford because of this? Because I think people in general are feeling that right now. And we're adding one more thing to that. I'd rather not have those barriers in place for these people, so I can't support it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hoffman?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Council Norbury. We're representing 2,500, give or take, people, and there's absolutely a constituency for the position that you just verbalized. And I do appreciate that this is not a minor increase if you're just looking at it from year to year at all. We're also talking about We Love Kids Day. My kids have done the $5 a day thing for several years. I look at this and go, oh, 100% increase. Yes, that's true, but it was $5 for a very long time. And even with the $10, we're not covering the cost of running it. So the question to me becomes, what's really reasonable? How much do we want to subsidize as a town for the activities that are available? And from my perspective as a town, we do a lot of that. And I'm glad to see it, and I'm glad to see the high participation in a lot of the activities we do. And then we come to the golf course. And I appreciate that there are people that are concerned about this. But looking at it from top down in the area, we have people from Chetwynd coming regularly using our golf course. I have a hard time coming up with a justification for subsidizing visitors to our town on our golf course. Do I feel for the people that may feel that they can't get around in every month or however often they use it? Yeah, I do. I would rather look at a way to subsidize them specifically, separate side program, than I would a blanket support for the golf course. We had several discussions over the last months on the golf course. The way that I perceived it is that we were talking about reinvesting in our golf course, that we're going to make it, as a perception from everybody using it, a nicer golf course over the coming years. And to do that, we need to reinvest. And to reinvest, we need to build up the incomes. I look at the trail fees, 80%. Yes, if you're a member, one-time cost. You're not paying every round. If you want to look at it 80%, you can, or you can look at it as I think it was $60, $50 or $60 that we increased. I get it, but that $50 or $60, that is not even a golf club anymore. Like that's a few package of golf balls. That's not, it's not a burden to my mind. If you can't afford the increases that we show, golf isn't the best game for you to do. There is a equipment investment, a land investment, a time investment. I get it. I used to golf. I don't anymore. 3 kids later, and I don't have the time, and I don't have the wherewithal to go find the clubs for that season for the one that I broke last year or any of that. Like, that's just not something I do right now. And maybe in a few years, I'll do it again. And if I look at this compared to what I used to do, 20 years later, this is still looks quite reasonable to me on the numbers that we look at and what it costs to do executive golf courses and outside of this area, obviously. But it's just, I look back and go, how much did I have to spend on golf? So yes, I don't want people to not play. I'm more than willing to listen to other ways to subsidize those members of our community that are missing out, and not just on golf, on other things. I do want participation. Whether you do an income-based thing or however, I'm willing to listen. I understand that's not an overnight thing. But this golf course, I'm happy to invest in it. I'm not happy to subsidize it. So that's why I agreed to these before, and that's why I'm still agreeing to these. And the other things, even with the community center, yes, we subsidize the community center, heart of the town, especially in wintertime. I'm more than happy to invest in that for our town members. But if we don't, that 5%-ish that we're looking to increase this year is going to be more every year that we do it. And I agree. I don't think we should have let this accumulate. I think we would have been better off that every couple of years we added $1 to the We Love Kids Day. But we didn't. So what do we do now to be reasonable? And I think what we have in front of us is reasonable. Not perfect, but reasonable. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Julik?
Yeah, I think for me, it's about, we haven't increased fees at the community center since 2011, and we haven't increased golf course fees since 2018. And yes, that maybe was our error, or that's council's error, or whatever that looks like, and maybe that means we need to look at a policy in regards to those things. If you take just the $3 increase for the 9 hole in the green fees, if you divide that over 8 years, that's 40 cents a year. So I think maybe we learn from this. At the same time, it's like anything else. If we don't increase things now, then it's just a bigger increase as we look forward. We're just kicking the can down the road again.
Thank you. Mayor Kurkowka.
Yeah, thanks, Acting Mayor. So I look at the couple membership, if everybody's on page 42. Couple membership is $1268.51 divided by 2, $634.25. If you bought a single membership, it's $731. I think we're being more than reasonable when we talk about increases. Again, you know, I'll take it. I was on council for the last 13 years, I guess. No, sorry, 11 years, almost 12. You know, it should have been done previously. Has it been asked for this stuff to come back? It has. Staff, you know, we have turned over on staff. But I do think there's times like we look at fuel's gone up, fertilizer's going up. It's costing more to transport the blades and out of the community to be sharpened to cut grass. Wear and tear. You know, I look at all that, and you know, and I understand from Councillor Norbury's comments, and I get it. But you know, it's if this was just a closed-in community, we gated it off, and it was just Tumbler Ridge residents golfing there, I think we have a different conversation. This golf course, we're seeing many people come from the region, but also outside the region. And to me, the people that don't golf are having to pay for that. You know, I mean, I'm not sure, we'll probably throw staff right off the side here. Do we have an estimate on how many memberships we sold last year? Total, even just adult, don't need youth or children.
Ms. Scott.
No, I don't have that information.
Okay. And I should have texted earlier, it was just a busy day, but I look at, you know, that could be good information too in regards to that. When you think of, you know, we have 2,600 people in town and, you know, we're selling 500 memberships. There's 2,100 people that aren't using the course, possibly. Maybe they're just buying it by round. So again, you know, I think when I look at the golf course compared to the community center, you know, and I think it's been spoken highly of in the last few months for sure. And it's always been that. So it wasn't just the last few months, but to me, the community center is the heart and the hub of the community. And I think the fees that we're charging even there, that We Love Kids Day, yeah, that's a big increase when you think about it. But when you think of what you get for $10, I'm sorry, I don't know, I haven't bought a Happy Meal at McDonald's, but I bet you it's probably somewhere in the same aspect. And then same with swimming lessons and all that. Like some of it's gone up 32 cents. So I don't think our increase is huge. One thing that I did get from the email, or maybe it was a comment, it might have been a couple comments as well. I didn't realize it, so I'm going to be straightforward. I have not bought a membership. I did buy one for a Christmas gift. I didn't pay attention to what it came with. I didn't realize it didn't come with anything. So when I was a young gaffer, when we got golf memberships at the Hinton Golf Course, it was free driving range balls. And I think that is probably, you know, something I'm assuming that we would have to add within this motion. So before we move forward, it's within the motion. But I'd be curious to hear what council's thoughts are on that. We have a policy, if you look it up on tournament weekends, if the golf course is closed off because of tournaments, if a member has a paid membership, not a VIP card, a paid membership, they can use the driving range for free. And maybe that's something we include here with all memberships, that it's free range balls. I'd be curious what council thinks.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Noxana.
Thank you. I think that more value for our memberships is important. If that was driving range, great. If there was other ideas, happy to hear them. Any of the feedback I've gotten about this specific bylaw isn't that prices should or shouldn't change. People are in agreement that it needs to go up. I think it's just difficult to see the bigger increase in prices. So things like, the biggest one was the trail fee, and I'm hopeful that we can find a bit of a slower increase or gradual increase for this.
Okay. So I would assume if we do want to make any changes, we would be amending this. We do have a motion on the floor for the second reading. So if councilors would like to make a motion for any changes. Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Chair. I'll get right to it. I honestly, I believe, and I can appreciate, I can read the room, but at the end of the day, I feel that this is a strong advocacy point for me and our community. I've heard it loud and clear from the people who reached out to me that they're just too hard, too fast. Some of these rates are going up 20%. So I think that's too much, too fast. So I'm going to start with a motion that all recreation facility fees be lowered to a maximum of a 5% increase, and any increase under 5% remain as they are.
Seconder. Councilor Noxana. Excuse me. Did you catch that, Ms. Scott? Can you repeat that, please, Councilor Norbury?
Yes, Chair. Motion to amend the fees and charges amendment bylaw that all recreation and facility fees be lowered to a maximum of 5% increase. Any increase under 5% remain as they are.
And seconded by Councilor Noxana. Discussion. Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Chair. People are okay with raises. People are okay with increases. It's not 20%, not 87%, not 10%. Let's start out with 5. We look at this again in 2 years, and then we see where we're at. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be raising fees. It's too much, too fast. It is a sudden shock to many people's wallets. It's like dumping, someone into a bucket of cold water and expecting them to be okay with it. I think we need to be low and slow on this issue. That's why I'm proposing 5%. So I agree that we need to change it. I don't think we should be going this fast. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Councilor Hoffman.
Thank you, Chair. Problem I have with that is if we do 5% every 2 years, we're maybe keeping pace with inflation rates. I don't think we're at the 2% inflation anymore, realistically. There is no catch-up. That'll basically be a constant every 2 years, 5%, or maybe even a larger adjustment. If we did it's like 10% this year, 10% next year, like we did with our tax rates, I might be amenable to that, but to hold it that low, I'm not even convinced real inflation is going to be less than 5% on either this year or next year with gas being what it is right now and what it could be. And yes, you're right, it's going to be hard on a lot of people, and if it keeps going, it'll be hard on a lot more people on top of that. But a town council isn't going to provide relief on that, at least not much. We're not setting tax rates on gas prices and the other peripherals. I want to make it a bit easier, but I don't want the next council or the council after that having to do another round of 100% on this and 80% on that. That's why I can't support the motion as is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? I'll make a couple comments. I do understand the motion here. I do understand people's concerns. I'm still opposed to this motion. I feel like our increases are necessary, and I still feel like the end price for the product that is being delivered is very reasonable and fair. I do understand the shock value of these increases, but yeah, I still am not in support of this motion. Any other discussion? Call to question, all in favor? Opposed? Mayor Kurkalka, Councillor Julich, Councillor Bertrand, Councillor Hoffman opposed, motion defeated. Any other changes council would like to make? Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Chair. Do the same for the golf. For all golf course fees, be lowered to a maximum of 5% increase. Any increase under 5% remain as they are.
Seconder, Councillor Noxana. Discussion. I'll speak on this one. I don't feel 5% is enough. Again, I feel the same way as the community center. I think the end prices for the product being given is very reasonable and very fair. I can speak as a very avid golfer down there. I've had membership for many years, and both my wife and I have memberships. It's an activity I enjoy to play, and I realize I have to pay for it, not only to get to the golf course and be on the golf course, but also the equipment it takes to do that. So, yeah, I can't support the motion. Any other discussion? Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Chair. In addition to my previous comments, I would just, point out that the cost of, supplies for golf can be a spectrum. You can get those $1,000 clubs, you can buy the cart, you can, deck it out, you can buy all the nice bags, or you can go and buy a $5 club at a yard sale.
Yep.
Get 2 of those, get out there, borrow from a friend, you can buy a $50 set of golf clubs. So I appreciate that sometimes the barrier for entry may be high, but it could just be something as simple as somebody out there with $50 set of clubs walking the course. So I don't think we should be holding everyone to the same account on the cost to entry for the sport, and I still would like to see moderate increases versus maximum. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Call to question, all in favor? Opposed? Mayor Kurkalka, Councillor Julich, Councillor Bertrand, Councillor Hoffman opposed. Motion defeated. Any other motions? Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion that all facility membership rates be increased by 10% for 2026 and 10% for 2027, with final rates for each year rounded to the nearest 25 cents.
Might have to repeat that.
Okay.
Just 1 second here. Ms. Scott, did you want that repeated? I think I got it. Okay. Seconder, Councillor Noxana. Discussion, Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Chair. As I said, I want to make it as reasonable as we can as we go forward. And I think access to the facilities at the community center is somewhere where I would be more than happy to soften the blow with the size of steps. Especially when you're looking at multiple area memberships, they can get pretty expensive if you're going to do an annualized amount. So I think this would lower that price a little bit, but it also doesn't make us fall any farther behind over the course of a couple of years. So just as a reasonable step on something that I think gets used a lot, I think we could do a little something there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Julich.
Yeah, I appreciate your motion, Councillor Hoffman. I just, doing this kind of on the fly is not, it's something I'm not comfortable with. I know it's probably simple math, but it's not numbers that are in front of me. And when I looked at the motion again after receiving the emails, I kind of had those numbers in my head, and so I think I'm not really prepared. I think that this is a motion that we could bring back to another meeting. Or no, sorry, never mind. Let me back that up. I'm not prepared to vote in favor just because I'm not to do the numbers on the fly, and I'm comfortable with the numbers that are in this bylaw already. The staff of.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Noxana.
Thank you. I'm in favor of this like I was the last amendments. I think it gives the increase while softening the blow. It spreads it out a little bit over a couple of years. And I like that you incorporated the rounding to the nearest quarter. It makes it easy for kids coming with handfuls of change to pay their way in and staff who are trying to navigate the charges.
Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Chair. Realistically, I made my opinion known beforehand. Any increases to this amount is too much, in my opinion, but in a this versus that scenario, I would prefer this versus the straight 20% increase. So at this point in time, we'll be in favor of it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Kurkowka.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I'm sorry, Councilor Norby keeps saying 20% when the motion was 12% across the board. That was the previous motion at the PMP, 12%. So where's he getting 20?
Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Chair. So in the recreation and facility fees, all room rental rates are increased by 20%. All facility membership rates are increased by 20%, with final rates rounded to the nearest 25 cents. That's my issue. Specifically, those two are going up by 20%. Thank you.
Okay, I guess just clarity to staff, I thought we were at 12% across the board, the previous motion. Block A and B had, and maybe that wasn't the room rentals, I'm not sure. I just want to get clarity here.
Okay, Ms. Scott.
Yeah, so for clarification, Block A and B was in the schedule that only was in regards to golf course fees. So there was a separate schedule with separate blocks in it that referred to the other community center fees.
Mayor Kurkowka.
Thank you for that. So that might have been a miss by council at the PMP. And you think about it, I'm not sure if that was council's initiative. But when we talked about the golf course, I mean, and I get it, we were doing it on the fly because we were changing so many, trying to do motions, not realizing that if you raise the adults, what about the youth, the children, the seniors, all that? So then that was brought back and then an amendment was made to do it at 12%. So maybe that's where the confusion is.
If I remember correctly, I believe the 12% at the end of the meeting was to stabilize the golf course fees. That 12% wasn't across the board within the community center. I believe that those increases to the facilities were staff recommended, I believe.
Yeah, and I think you're right, Acting Mayor. And maybe staff can speak to why the 20% increase. Maybe there's some concerns there that, you know, we didn't get the in-depth information and we're trying to change a motion that when we look at the increase to the QP contracts and such, new tables, new chairs, whatever it may be, wax more expensive, but it'd be nice to hear before we start, like I understand there's a motion on the floor, but before we vote on it, you know, maybe there's a reasoning there in regards to it.
Okay. Ms. Scott, is there anything you could speak to that on?
It's not included in this report. That would have been included in the report at the Policies and Priorities Committee meeting. So it was in that report, and I don't have that in front of me tonight.
Okay. Anything else, Mayor Kurkowka? No. Any other discussion on the motion? The motion was to increase facilities 10% this year, 10% next year. Okay, call to question. All in favor? Opposed? Mayor Kurkowka, Councillor Julich, and Councillor Bertrand are opposed. Motion is a tie, so it's defeated. Okay. Any other changes to fees and charges amendment bylaw?
Councilor Bertrand, or sorry, Acting Mayor, sorry.
Quite all right. Go ahead, Mayor.
Again, we didn't really talk much. I threw it out there. I did get it from the email and from some conversation with members that buy membership, not the VIP holders, but the ones that actually buy memberships. Council's concept in offering up free driving range balls for the ones that have paid for memberships before a motion.
You want to make a motion on that? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
I thought about just seeing where we thought before motion, but just, if we could just ask staff if there's any concern from staff side in regards to that.
Ms. Scott?
That is something I would have to take back and discuss with the, with those with that department, with those directors and those staff members.
Okay.
Is there a way of moving this only to the second reading then? And then getting that information? Because that makes a difference. Makes a difference for my vote.
Ms. Scott?
Yes, if council wanted to proceed with voting on the motion for second reading, then we don't have to give it third reading tonight, and we can go back and gather that information and bring it forward to council.
Okay. Councillor Hoffman?
Thank you, Chair. I understand the point in the emails, and I understand Mayor's point, and I would rather look at this a little more holistically than just driving range of what we can do to add value to memberships without adding significant cost. Whatever the answer is, however much a bucket of balls is, or a spot, or however we manage it, we've been talking about adding a different, the structure that we were talking about before is adding 32 along with covered driving range and things like this. I'm not sure how many members would really feel that that's where their value is. I'd rather hear from the members of where they feel the value it is. And I don't think that's something we can answer in the next couple of weeks for this budget. I'd rather take, as I said, a wider approach on looking at the golf course, looking at the memberships and seeing what our members actually value and what we can do for them as part of building up this golf course over the coming years. As you said, Mayor, it changes your vote, and I appreciate that statement. But I don't know if I want to delay this over that. Because whatever the answer is in a week or two, is it something that we're going to have an answer for before this budget needs to be done? And that's why I'm hoping that we can go through third reading tonight, but in the end, it's up to council.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Chair. I'm absolutely in favor of looking at ways that we can increase the value of memberships for people. My question would be, my comment then a question would be, it would make more sense if we go through the reporting process where we can see comparisons of what is added to memberships in different communities, right? So some communities might have, you get free driving range, you get 3 buckets of balls versus unlimited buckets of balls, or we had a letter earlier talking about what other memberships in our regions give. So I would think that it'd be better if we got a request for report. But my question would be, is that if we got a report outlining that, we decided later on that we wanted to change the driving range fees for members only, paying members only, or offering these incentives, can we make changes at that point in time, or do we have to do it tonight? That'd be my question.
Well, if we're going to hold off on the third reading, we don't have to do it tonight. If we were going to do the third reading, we would have to, I would say. Councillor Noxana?
Thank you. I would like to make or propose an amendment that the annual trail fee revised be lowered to $100.
It wouldn't be amendment, it would be a motion.
Yeah, motion, yep.
Motion?
Seconder? Councillor Norbury? Discussion? Councillor Noxana?
Thank you. I feel like this is one of the biggest ones that people are struggling with how much that increase specifically is. I do recognize it needs to increase, and these funds need to be specifically put back into trail fee or trail maintenance. So hoping we can agree on a bit of a lower amount for this year.
Okay. Mayor Kirkowka?
Yeah, thanks, Acting Mayor. My thoughts are, I appreciate Councillor Noxana trying to put a motion there and do that. I can't support it, and the reason I say that is the ones I've talked to, the people with carts, as long as we have a GL line, they understand it. The biggest problem that I've heard, previously even to when we had the delegation with a few of the golfers, was they're paying trail fees, but that money doesn't go back into trail maintenance. And I mean, I don't know how many I talked to, I didn't count them, but the ones I talked to quite a few owners that have carts. As long as we are gonna do that GL line, they are fine with the cart fees. So, won't be supporting the motion.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? I'd like to comment. So the idea of the trail fee cost being reinvested back into the trails is kind of a false pretext there. Trail fees are charged because the golf course is allowing a private cart onto their golf course. So they're trying to recoup a little bit of cost rather than renting them a golf cart from the golf course. So $8 previously for a trail fee compared to $25 or $23 for a rental is a significant decrease in revenue, which could be attained. A lot of golf courses down south don't allow private carts on their golf course because they recognize they're losing money by allowing them on there. So I definitely agree with these GL codes and separating them and reinvesting them when we can. I think that's certainly a proper way of doing things, but to expect that the trail fees being charged are going to directly be put back into cart paths is not really realistic. It's just a name to try and allow people to bring their private carts on. You know, we could certainly make a policy not to allow them on there. We have enough carts in our fleet to be able to provide golf carts for everybody wanting them. So it's definitely a bonus that our course here is allowing them on the course. And in order to do that, we need to charge a little bit of money. So when you look in, the reason I'm in favor of the $150 trail fee is because if we take the $12 per round trail fee, it's going to take you 12 rounds to pay that off. Any person buying a membership is going to play 10 times that in a year, likely. So again, I can't really support this because I feel like the end price is reasonable and fair for the product being given, especially for the season. And in order to invest money into the golf course and improve our cart paths and maintain and asset manage this golf course, we need to start making some money in order to reinvest it. So for example, this year, we've put in a capital project of $270,000 to reinvest into the golf course. The golf course only made $80,000 last year. So again, the community is subsidizing to maintain this asset that we have right now. I don't think that's fair. So I can't support the motion. Any other discussion? Call to question. All in favor? Opposed? Mayor Kirkauka, Councillor Hoffman, Councillor Bertrand opposed. A motion is a tie, or sorry, was that opposed, Councillor Julich? Looks like opposed as well for Councillor Julich, so motion's defeated. Any other changes?
I just wanted to go back. Did we finish talking about the Mayor Kakauka's question? I was wondering if we can, if it's a question for Ms. Scott,
I can't make it.
pass this bylaw tonight and then make the amendments to membership and a policy.
Sorry, you were breaking up there, Councillor Julich. Can you repeat that, please?
Sorry. So I'm wondering if we can do, if we can make the changes to membership benefits, even if we do all the 3 readings tonight without having to bring the bylaw back. Can the changes to the membership be part of a policy versus a bylaw?
That's a good question. Ms. Scott?
Yes, it could.
Yes, it could, she said. Yep. Okay, any other discussion? Changes, motions? Okay, we'll call the question on the second reading of the Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw number 760, 2026. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Norbury and Councillor Noxana opposed. Motion is carried. And what's council's wishes? Do we want to hold off on the third reading for a report? That'll have to be by motion.
Put a motion on the floor that we direct staff to bring back a report in regards to paid membership range balls.
To include range balls. Okay, did you capture that, Ms. Scott? Yes. Seconder, Councillor Noxana. Discussion, Councillor Noxana.
Thank you. I would like to amend that to include any other value-added items to a fully paid membership.
Seconder on the amendment. Councillor Norbury. Discussion on the amendment.
What are we talking about in regards to this? Like we're gonna just ask staff to go and figure that out?
I think she's looking for other options besides range balls, if we can give any kind of value to our paid members. I believe that.
Again, I don't disagree, but what are we looking at? We're just asking staff to go and figure out it on their own? I gave clear direction, range balls. This one is any other value added. I'm just looking for what we're looking for.
Councillor Noxana.
Thank you. I'm not a golfer, so I'm not 100% sure what that usually entails, but we have had letters from residents that list things like discounts in the pro shop and the restaurant, which like the restaurant is not owned by us, so that probably would not be feasible. But access to the driving range is on the list. Reduced rate for guests if you were bringing a guest along, or another tea time with your membership. Discounts on RV parking, discounts on rental carts. Perhaps there's even like a membership time where you get first priority or something for booking. There's a lot of concern about our golf course being really busy and members are struggling to get access to some prime time. So if we had a couple evenings that we had 4 members set aside to book first, I don't know, I think that there's a lot of ideas that we can look at. I don't want to limit it to just what I've been told because, as I said, have never booked golf in my life, so.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I appreciate what Councillor Noxana is trying to do here because you don't know what you don't know. If we say go out and look for A, well, there's B through Z out there. We don't know. I mean, Mr. Pollard mentioned RV parking. Well, maybe there's places that have campsites like ours do, right? What camping rates? We don't know what we don't know. So I'd appreciate to know what other courses are offering in terms of membership and their perks, and let's look at that all together. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Julik.
Thank you. I appreciate that we want to maybe put these motions out now. I also believe that we've been told by Ms. Scott that we can do this as a policy later on. I feel like we need to do the bylaw tonight, get it done, and I think that we need to be more specific when we ask staff for a report, because otherwise they could throw out a report and then they bring something back and we still have something more that we want to question. So I'd rather not rush this part of the motion tonight since we can do it as policy and just get the bylaw passed for this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Kukalka.
Yeah, thank you. I guess my only concept is, again, then we're asking other residents to back pay something else, whether that's gift shop or pro shop deductions, camping deductions. If a guest comes golfing, we should give them a deduction. Somebody else has to pay for that. I think that's why we're looking at the increase in regards to the fees and charges because of that. And that's why I mentioned driving range balls, because we already have billions of balls. And it's already in one of the policies when it comes to tournaments. When the course is booked due to tournaments, people that have paid memberships could have driving range for free. That's why I mentioned that one.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, call to question on the amendment. All in favor? Opposed? Mayor Kurkowka, Councillor Julich, Councillor Bertrand, Councillor Hoffman are opposed. Motion is defeated. Back to the regular motion. Any other discussion? Councillor Hoffman?
Thank you, Chair. And Mayor Kurkowka, I appreciate the specificity and looking to give them some value. But just as concept, I think we should look at more than the driving range balls. And also, driving range balls they last longer than a regular golf ball, but they don't last forever. There's a cost to running the driving range, which is why I'd want to see what we're really talking about. And I think a broader report makes sense. Just the timeline for that broader report being ready for this budget is what I was concerned with. I think part of investment in the golf course is going to be, what does a membership really look like? And I think starting that discussion after budgetary time, I'm more than happy to have that and ask for that report. But for tonight, I just looking at the timelines and what's needed to get on right now, I wouldn't want to hold it up over driving range balls. No, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. I've got a couple comments. I can't really support the motion on the floor, to be honest. I don't think in my opinion, I don't think we need a report. I think if we want to add that, it would be extremely easy to add. We just need to motion it. But the reason I'm not opposed, the reason I am opposed to this motion is our driving range is a mess. Again, I've used it for many years. It's deteriorated extensively. Before a tournament, it's absolutely full. There isn't separated areas for each person to hit from, so it's actually quite dangerous if you have inexperienced people there. And to add on this kind of a value to members, I think would only increase the usage of it, and which would in turn destroy it even more. So I think in my opinion, I think there's major investment and rehabilitation that needs to be done there, and I don't feel like adding to the usership of it will be beneficial for it. So I can't support the motion. Any other discussion? Call the question on the motion. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Julich, Councillor Bertrand, Councillor Hoffman are opposed. Motion's defeated. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate your comments that it would just be easy enough to add in the free range balls into the policy. So I will do that. I will motion to include free range balls into the driving course membership perk.
Okay. Seconder, Councillor Noxena. Discussion, Mayor Kurkowka.
I think the problem, I appreciate Councilor Norbury. I mean, kind of want to support it, but listening to Ms. Scott, it looked like staff needed to investigate this first. And I'd hate to add it, and there's something that they need to look at first. That was my only concern. And that's why I was looking. I mean, I didn't ask for a timeline. I mean, the reason I didn't ask that, staff's been turning around the ones for budget fairly quick. But it sounded like it. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn, and Ms. Scott's fine with it. But my understanding earlier, suggested a report in regards to that information to make sure we were making the right decision.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? No comments? Call to question. All in favor?
Point of order first. You're going to ask staff that. Before I vote.
Sorry?
I just want to make sure we're not handcuffing staff when she's the one that mentioned the report.
Okay, Ms. Scott.
I would prefer to give staff the chance to investigate.
Okay. Okay, any other comments? Call to question, all in favor? Opposed? Mayor Kurkowka, Councillor Julich, Councillor Bertrand, Councillor Hoffman are opposed. Motion's defeated. Councillor Julik. Councillor Julik.
I'd like to make the motion that council gives the third reading of the fees and charges amendment bylaw 760/2026.
Seconder. Councillor Hoffman. Sorry. Oh,
These are all still amendments to the second reading.
correct. Yep, you're right. Councillor Julik, we're still, second reading is still on the floor. We still haven't voted on that yet. Sorry about that. Thank you, Ms. Scott. Okay, so I believe this is our last chance to make amendments before we vote on second reading. Is that correct, Ms. Scott?
Yes, please, no, for a moment. Yes.
Okay. So any other discussion or comments on the second reading? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Mayor Kirkowka, Councillor Norbury, and Councillor Noxana are opposed. Motion's defeated. Now I don't know what we do. Looking for direction, Ms. Scott.
Because second reading was defeated, we can't move on with third reading, so we would just move on to the next item on the agenda.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Chair,
Mayor Kirkowka.
reconsideration of a motion due to the new information in front of us that second reading didn't pass.
Okay, reconsidering of which motion?
Reconsidering a motion, looking for a report from staff in regards to range balls added to golf membership.
Okay, yeah, I can bring that back on the floor, and it was seconded, so discussion. Okay, call the question on the motion of adding golf ball range balls to personal membership at the golf course. Sorry, for a report. Thank you. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Hoffman? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, let's get out of that one. New business. 9.1, Healthcare Task Force Committee Recommendation, Follow-up for PRA Program to Provincial Government. Report dated April 20th, 2026 from the Executive Assistant to CAO, Mayor, and Council regarding Healthcare Task Force Committee Recommendation, Follow-up for Advocacy for PRA Program to Provincial Government. Recommendation, please. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Chair, that we received this report for discussion.
Seconder. Councillor Noxana. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Chair. I see this in front of us, and we have an alternate to the recommendation. You know, this was a recommendation that came through the Health Task Force because at that table it was identified that if somebody's here on a PRA status, so that's the foreign doctors program, they couldn't get their, like, they need to accumulate hours, and they may not be willing to lend themselves out to other communities because any hours they work outside of their PRA community, they would not get towards that. I'm assuming this report is saying that that is still the case, and if we want to make a recommendation to, the ministry, we need to make this motion.
I believe so.
Thank you. Yeah, great. That's why I read it too. Thank you. So I'll make the recommendation that council supports the Health Task Force Committee's motion and direct staff to prepare and send a letter to the provincial government, Ministry of Health, requesting changes to the Practice Ready Assessment PRA program to allow PRA physicians the ability to accept temporary assignments to alternate health facilities within the same region and health authority while retaining credits towards the return of service equipment.
Seconder. Councillor Hoffman, discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Schedule of meetings. Any additions or issues? Mayor Kurkowka.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if Ms. Scott has any proposed budget meetings after the 27th.
Ms. Scott.
I do not have any other dates at this time, but would like council to consider selecting a date for the Economic Diversification and Resiliency Plan workshop. We're looking at potentially May 25th or, sorry, May 26th or 27th.
Okay. Mayor Kurkowka.
No, I'm all good.
Okay.
I guess just the council's aware, we'll be calling some special meetings, probably the week ending May 1st and the week ending May 8th.
Yeah. I think we're expecting it. Okay, any other additions or comments in regards to the schedule of meetings? Ah, yes, okay. Which day works for council? 26th or 27th? I vote 26th. It's kind of hard to tell right now. Is that okay with all council? 26th we'll go with for now. That's the ECDEV resiliency. Okay. Sorry. Ms. Scott, what time are you looking at there?
We're pretty flexible on time, depends what works for council.
So are we thinking evening, same time as usual, 4 or 5 o'clock,
4 o'clock if it works.
4 o'clock? Okay. Pencil that in, 4 o'clock on May 26th. All right, any other issues with schedule of meetings or additions? Okay. Notice of motions tonight? Perfect, and councilor's business. Thank you, Councilor Noxana and Councilor Norbury for your reports. Any other councilor's business? I attended the Geopark meeting last week. It was my first one. It was nice to get back into it. Got a lot of catch up to do though. I've been out of that organization for quite a while, so yeah, it was good. I will get a report here for the next agenda. Any other councilor's business? Okay. Question and answer period. Ms. Scott, any emailed questions? Thank you. And no close tonight, so recommendation for adjournment, please. Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Chair, that the April 20th regular meeting of council be adjourned.
Seconder, Councilor Hoffman, all in favor? Carried, thank you.